You cannot overeat food and expect to lose body fat at optimal rates. I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body, and that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Dave Palumbo here with an RX Muscle rant. Today's topic is protein ingestion. Can you eat too much? How much is too much? How much can you absorb per meal? It's a question we get all the time. I get this all the time, and I hear so much misinformation out there. First of all, I want to go on the record, and I've said this a lot, but I'm going to say it again. No matter how much protein you eat per meal, you will absorb 100% of it. That's right, you heard it. If you eat 100 grams of steak or 100 grams of protein from steak, you will absorb 100 grams of that. Now people are going, what? I heard you only can absorb 30 grams. I only heard you can. No, you will absorb every morsel of what you eat. What your body does with it once you absorb it into your bloodstream is another story, and that's what we're going to talk about. So once you digest the protein that you're eating and it gets absorbed into the bloodstream as amino acids or diantripeptides, your body then has to decide, what am I going to do with all these amino acids in the bloodstream? And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to do upkeep, hair, nails, skin, the internal lining of your intestinal tract. It's going to start repairing all that. Enzymes it's going to make, protein hormones, also known as peptide hormones. It's going to make all that stuff. And then it's going to go and say, okay, do we have anything to repair? Oh, the guy did a squat workout. We have leg muscle to repair. So it's going to take those aminos and it's going to send it to those areas. Now, depending on how much lean muscle tissue you have, in other words, people who have more mass, more muscle mass, will require more repair amino acids. That will dictate how much of that protein that you utilize. Okay, so if I am a 300-pound bodybuilder and I consume 60 grams of protein in a particular meal, probably my body will utilize pretty much all of that for all the housekeeping, upkeep, plus repairing muscle tissue. Now, if I'm a 110-pound female and I eat 60 grams of protein, my body only might require 25, 30 of those grams to do all the upkeep and housekeeping and repair of muscle tissue. In which case, what will it do with the rest of it? Well, the process of taking the rest of that protein and doing something with it requires energy. So some of it will be burnt up as fuel. That's why if you eat a very high protein meal, you sweat a lot, okay? Sometimes it boosts your metabolism, okay? But some of that will go to the liver, and the liver will convert those amino acids into glucose, sugar, via a process known as gluconeogenesis. And it won't be efficiently converted, but a percentage, and I don't know what the percentage is. Let's say, for instance, 30%, which is low, right? So you can overeat protein to a certain degree, but when you convert 30% of that excess protein to glucose, sugar, what happens? Your body now has to release insulin to absorb that glucose. What does insulin do? Insulin is a fat storage hormone. Now it also drives, carbs into the muscle cells to be stored as glycogen, but it also can store glucose as fat. So if you're on a restricted calorie diet, or a restricted diet where you're trying to burn stored body fat and you're eating excessive amounts of protein, some of that protein could get converted to glucose and thus fat. At the very least, if it's converted to glucose, it can get used as energy or fuel for the body, in which case your body's not going to use stored body fat. It's going to use that fuel. Those are extra amino acids that convert to glucose. So you can sabotage your weight loss, okay, by overeating protein. I saw a video online the other day by a doctor, he was being interviewed by someone else, by Dr. Jackwish. who looks like he looks like he's right up my alley. He's not really a medical doctor. He's a PhD. The guy's in great shape. He's got some great information. He's a big carnivore diet guy. He thinks you can't eat too much protein. I'll play the clip.
Ability to store protein as body fat. None whatsoever. Which is why when you eat a ton of protein, your body temperature goes up.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like you notice like you have big steak for dinner and then you just start sweating at night. You're like, yeah, it's so hot.
Get the meat sweats.
Meat sweats.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the thermogenic effect of overeating, how much protein your body can use.
Interesting.
But it can't be stored, which is why people on the carnivore diet, it's a decent weight loss diet, but it's a really awesome diet for people who don't want to count their calories, but also don't want to put on body fat because you basically won't. Your body has no ability to store protein as body fat, none whatsoever.
In the clip, obviously, he makes it seem as though you can eat as much protein as you want. You will never, ever store it as fat. It's impossible. And yes, you can't store protein as fat, but protein can convert to carbs, which can then convert to fat. So this is a very bad message he's sending. He's making it seem as though protein is free. And I can guarantee you, I've worked with plenty of athletes who never deviated from my diet recommendations. They ate exactly what I told them to eat, but they ate too much. Matter of fact, when I used to date this girl, Colette, who probably a lot of you guys know, I once saw her preparing a piece of salmon, and I said, how many ounces is that? She's like, it says 6 ounces. I said, there's no way that's 6 ounces. I said, I'll bet you $10 per extra ounce that it's at least 12 ounces. And sure enough, it was 12. So you can't, and then she wondered why she wasn't losing weight. You can't overeat protein and expect to lose weight because in the very least, your body will convert that to carbs and you'll use that as fuel. But in the worst case, you'll actually start storing some of those carbs as fat. So there's no free protein. As much as I love Jack Wish and what he's doing and his alliance with RFK Jr. and he's trying to really make America healthy, and I think he is giving very good diet advice. He's a believer in the carnivore diet. I don't love the carnivore diet as much as I love my ketogenic diet because I think the carnivore diet excludes good, healthy, essential fatty acids coming from like plants like macadamia nut oil, extra virgin olive oil, and certain vegetables are good for you. I don't know why the carnivore diet is so exclusive of these foods, but I think it's just an extreme version of the ketogenic diet. And so we're both aligned in our health beliefs, but this is just not good information to give out. You can't overeat protein and expect to lose weight. However, going back to how much protein can you absorb? As you can see, you absorb everything you eat. Now, the key with protein is to space out the meals every 2 to 4 hours throughout the day. And the reason we do that is there's no storage facility for protein. So if you eat 100 grams of protein, you absorb the full 100 and you only need 30 of that, you can't store the other 30 for later. They get converted to glucose ultimately or burned for fuel. You can't do anything with it. There's no storage facility. Like fat can be stored as fat, carbs can be stored as glycogen. It doesn't exist for protein. That's why you're better off eating small protein meals throughout the day because that's when your body will be ready for the next feeding. So if let's say you eat 30 grams of breakfast and then 3 hours later you eat another 30 grams, well, now your body's ready for more protein. It needs more to continue doing the upkeep and the housekeeping and the repair of muscle. So you need to consume protein throughout the day. You can't eat it all in the morning and at night because your body can't hold on to it that long. It will convert it to other stuff. And so that's why I never liked this intermittent fasting stuff where people try to jam all their meals into a very limited time space because what happens when you're not eating during the 18 hours? Your body has no protein available. Not a good diet for physique athletes because you're going to lose lean muscle tissue doing that. But the bottom line is that there are no free calories. You can't overeat protein. The key is everything you eat, you will absorb, and you will have to do something with it. So if we're going to do something with it, let's figure out how much protein we need in our diet. If I'm a 200-pound man, I would guess that 250 to 300 grams of protein divided over 6 meals would be the best way to go. So you're not overeating at any one meal, and you're spacing it out throughout the day. For females, I go probably, for a 150-pound woman, I would probably give them about 200 to 225 grams of protein spaced over 5 meals. Women seem to do better eating less meals per day. They can go a little longer between meals. Their body seems to have a slower metabolism, whereas men's metabolism are a little faster. If you do that, I promise you, you will not store these extra calories as fat. You won't inhibit the process of losing body fat, and you will recover at an optimal rate. That is the key. One thing we want to make sure we do as bodybuilders is get enough protein at every meal and that we maximize the recovery from our workouts. However, more is not better and less is not better. You got to find the ideal amount. That's why it's good to work with a coach or utilize like an app like my Dave Palumbo Experience app where you can kind of look at the macros that I suggest you use. But the key is there's no free meals. I said this earlier. You can't overeat anything. There's nothing like, oh, I could eat a vat of lettuce. Well, guess what happens? If you eat a vat of lettuce, your stomach is going to be all stretched out and you're going to be starving all the time. Not a good practice. Extremes never work. Stick with what we know works. If you're a fan of the ketogenic diet and you like the high protein, moderate fat approach, then by all means use it. It works phenomenally. But you cannot overeat food and expect to lose body fat at optimal rates. Dave Palumbo with an RX Muscle Rant.